This is the Songwriter Connection, the award-winning elite music podcast of the year, connecting the songs and the people who write them. Welcome, songwriters, friends of the song, and fans of great music. Pull up a chair around the dining room table. From his home in Nashville, Tennessee, here's your host, songwriter and storyteller, Dave Linehan.
Yeah, we're around that rickety old table. It's a Duncan Fife, and it's been in our family for years. It's an antique kind of like me. We're going to have fun today. I have got Angus Gill with us. Hi, Angus. How are you?
How are you, Dave?
Man, I thought about how to introduce you. There's so much you have done in your young career. As you could tell from his accent, he's from Australia. But you've been here in Nashville a couple of years now, huh?
2 years.
2 years.
Just celebrated my anniversary a couple of months ago.
Oh, yeah? How'd you celebrate? Did you play somewhere?
No, I think I just went and stuffed my face down at Sam's Grill.
There you go. Do you love Nashville? You love it?
I do. And I particularly love, as we were talking about earlier, Old Hickory and the Hermitage area. Yeah. It's got that small town feel. I don't feel like a fish out of water, being a bit of a country boy, you know.
That's what I love
around
about this
these
town
parts. I feel quite at home.
Yeah. And we're practically neighbors, you know.
Yeah, we are.
We take a little bit about Angus. Angus, a hit songwriter, artist, producer, songwriting, recording, production, literature. He's written a novella, which I want to talk about in a little bit. Also comedy, does comedy shows. And he has collaborated with all of your favorites, from Jim Lauderdale to Steve Earle. Are you kidding? I love that Steve Earle song. I want the story behind that. James Burton. And this list goes on and on and on. Jeffrey Steele? Really?
Yeah.
Love Jeff.
Love Jeff.
Man, what a great writer. Buddy Miller, Chip Eston, Phil Vassar. Yeah. We've been trying to get on this show. I think I might have missed my opportunity with him, but always one of my favorite songwriters. And he's an award winner. He won the equivalent of the CMA award. Here in Australia.
That's right. The Golden Guitar Award.
Do you get a golden guitar on that little thing?
Yeah,
it does.
It's an actual golden guitar. It weighs a ton.
Does it?
I don't have it over here with me. It's sitting in my parents' house in Australia because it's really heavy. Like you win one and you go, gold. Holy mackerel, how heavy is this? Yeah, so great. Eventually I'll get them to bring it over here next time they come over.
Very good. Now, what brought you here?
Well, to be honest, I don't think it was really on my dance card to want to move over here, really. Until I started coming to town. I think I first came to town when I was 16, and the first person I wrote with was still a good friend of mine, Bill DeLuigi, one of my favourite songwriters
Bill's
in this town.
Bill's a great guy. Been on this show a couple times. Good writer.
He's such a good guy. And I met Steve Earle on that trip, actually, too. I went and did a songwriting camp with him up in upstate New York. We've been friends ever since then as well. So I've known Steve and Bill D for about 12 years. Wow. And after that first trip, I was in grade 11 at school, and I had to take 3 weeks off to come over here and, and I just fell in love with the environment as a songwriter. I kind of, it changed my perspective a little bit because I thought I'd always be in Australia, and then I did a trip over here in the end of 2019, and that really kind of sealed the deal for me. I had the privilege of playing the Grand Ole Opry, being invited by Charles Eston to come and play a song that we had written.
That's awesome.
Together, and that was also at the Ryman, so I got to kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Charles Eston, if you can't play some actor, was in, and also a great singer-songwriter. He's played on the Opry many times.
Yeah.
But known for the Nashville TV show.
Yes, and Outer Banks.
Outer Banks, yes, he was very good. Bad guy in that one.
Yes. He's a really nice guy, and, I just feel so grateful for that opportunity to be able to get out there on the Opry, in the Opry circle with him. And I still love that song that we wrote together called Feet of Clay. I recorded it on an album I put out several years ago called The Scrapbook. And, it was after that trip I thought, I could see myself moving over here. And then obviously COVID happened, and Australia was locked down for about 2 years.
You guys were locked
really,
up tight.
It was not nice at all. And then I come out of that, and I won my Golden Guitar Award, and that allowed me to go for a green card which is permanent residency, and that's what I'm on.
Very cool.
And
I wanted to backtrack just a little bit. Tell me about the Golden Guitar Award. What was it? What was it for?
So it's the highest accolade you can get in Australian country music. It's the Aussie equivalent of a CMA award.
Correct.
And I remember going to the Golden Guitars as a kid. I was about 7 or 8, and seeing the stars walk the red carpet and all of that. And it's crazy that
that you were there eventually.
Do that myself. And
was it for a particular song or just a body of work?
Yeah, it was for a song I had out called The Easy Way. It got Bush Ballad of the Year. I'd been up several times and went along. I'd probably been up about 8 or 10 times by the time I'd won my first one. And I just thought, oh my gosh, like you'd turn up there. I still remember I got my first nomination when I was actually over here at the end of 2019. And I'd entered a few times before and not gotten anywhere, and I was expecting just the usual, kind of tears of disappointment after not getting in. But
come on, you were just honored to be nominated,
exactly.
right? As they say,
but then I got the nomination, and I'm like, I was so excited. And then, you go along. Everyone kind of, when those things happen, there's all that hubbub, and everyone's, just patting you on the back, and it feels it feels great, and it's like, the hard work's paying off, and I'm being recognised for the record I made, but everyone gets in your head and goes, oh yeah, you're definitely going to win, and you've got the best chance of everyone, you've got the best record, and you've really got to shut all of that out, because at the end of the day, what's going to be is going to be, and it's kind of, there's all this noise going around you, and then you turn up to the show and everyone's told you that you're going to win and you don't win, and you're like, oh gosh, and then you come back the following year and the same thing happens, and so you've really just got to block it out and just accept, because those industry awards, it's amazing to get that pat on your back, but there's a lot of different variables that go into it. It's not just purely awarded on merit.
Yeah. What's it awarded on? What's the...
Well, I think there's a lot of politics that surround things too, with any awards. It doesn't matter what they are. There's all of... So, it's not just based on any one thing. You've got to be good. You've got to have a great body of work. You've got to have industry support. You've got to have all of these things around you. It's not just one thing that it's awarded on. So, it can be like, that's just another thing you're up against in the music business that you have to keep grounded. And it's really all about, I think, you just have to put out stuff that you're really connected to and do what you love.
And you've managed to stay very authentic to you throughout your career, and you'd be congratulated about that.
Thank you.
I mean, not that there's not different levels, but you are uniquely you.
Yeah,
So you even did a bluegrass record not too long ago.
Yeah, I
did. What an accomplishment that was. And these are old Australian songs that you made Americanized with bluegrass music.
Yeah. I've actually done 2 bluegrass albums. I had an album called The Scrapbook out, which that got about 4 or 5 Golden Guitar nominations. That was actually the year that I won my GG, but that wasn't... it was for a different song that wasn't actually on that record, but I'm still really proud of that album, and that was my first foray into bluegrass. And then I was approached by my publisher, Philip Mortlock, at Origin Music Publishing, and he commissioned me to take classic Aussie pop and rock hits and give them the bluegrass treatment with some of my favourite players over here. Great dobro player Randy Cause, Grammy winner Ron Block out of Alison Krauss and Union Station, Scott Vestal on banjo, one of my favourite players as well. Tim Crouch, my good friend Tim Crouch, fiddle, acoustic guitar, mandolin, double bass, just everything. He's one of my favourite humans, and Tim and I have done so many sessions together, and we did one about 6 months, just over 6 months ago, and that was actually the first time we'd worked together in person, and I've been working with Tim for about 10 years.
That's awesome.
And it was weird. I said to Tim, I said, "So Tim, what's your secret? Like, I bet you've got this, studio at home full of all this outboard gear and great tech."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "You know what, Angus?" He said, "I got a couple good instruments, and I got a good microphone, and I got a PreSonus interface." And I'm like, and so he said, Cowboy Jack Clements told me years ago, he said, if you can have the least possible go from the fiddle to the monitors, that's your sound.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe it because, Tim's... I've been, getting parts from Tim for the last 10 years for all kinds of different projects that I've produced, and his files, he's such a phenomenal player, and his files sound immaculate. I hardly have to do much treatment to them at all. Wow. Whereas, some files you get from people, you've got to do a bit of audio nip and tuck, I suppose, to be able to get them
part of the process. Well, that brings me to a question I wanted to ask you, because you really do it. I mean, production, you're multi-instrumentalist. You really have learned to have it all. And it seems to me today, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you have to have all that. You have to be to make it today. You've got to be. You can have the full toolbox, don't you, today?
Right.
It does definitely help. It's hard just to be a songwriter or a lyricist.
Or you don't. Like a lot of people that are popping up left, right and centre, singing in their mum's basement, and all of a sudden they have a shit song go viral, and the rest is history.
I never thought of it that way either. Yeah.
But I suppose, it helps to be able to... have different things in your toolkit, and I think why I've tried to be a little bit of a jack of all trades, although I wouldn't consider myself a jack of all trades and a master of none, because I really do. I'm all in or not at all. If I get into something, I'm either all there or I don't even touch it, because I think it's important. You mentioned authenticity before, and I think authenticity and integrity is essential, because otherwise, why are we doing it? At the end of the day,
and people aren't stupid; they can hear when it's not right.
And I think this kind of age of TikTok and everything, I think people like the impression of authenticity, and somehow they can't discern between the impression of authenticity and authenticity itself. But the truth is that authenticity always prevails. The impression of authenticity, if you've got that kind of thing, it might last for a couple of songs, but then eventually, and I see it a lot, it runs its course, and then you don't hear of these people that aren't quite the real deal, that have somehow slid through in a hole in the algorithm, and they're around, and they're super impressive for a very short amount of time, and then they kind of pass by. But the people that are the real deal, you can't.
And that's not saying that you're not going to evolve. You are. You're going to grow in different areas, but you're staying true to yourself.
Right. And there's nothing like seeing someone who is the real deal.
Yeah.
No doubt. And it's hard. It's getting
Is there someone
harder
out there
to find.
today like that you admire?
Look, I think right now, I just think. Let me think.
I put you on the spot.
You are putting me on the spot there for a second. Jeepers. Yeah, you are. I'm going to have to think of that over
Well, we'll come back to it. Ain't no big deal.
Little thing. And because it is getting harder to find people that kind of have the package. You find people that sound good, but the songs are not as good, and or they've got good songs, but not so much the sound or the point of difference. I suppose it's harder to kind of find the package, and because we're so overwhelmed with, there's something like 50,000 songs being released every day, and so there's so much noise, and so I as a music fan, I genuinely find it harder to be able to find someone, discover new artists that I really feel connected to, because there's so much that algorithms are feeding you. It's very hard to actually
right.
cut through and find things that they're out there.
Yeah.
But they really take some
digging,
some rummaging around.
Yeah, rummaging is a good word for it. Yeah.
So,
we got. You know what? I could talk. There's so many things I want to talk to you about, but we also about live music around this dining room table.
Yeah.
So I'd love to have you pick up that Gibson of mine.
Yeah.
Maybe share a song with us.
Absolutely.
And the story behind it. People need to hear you,
All
my
right.
friend. Angus Gill is our guest.
What am I going to play for you? Well, you said you liked that song I wrote that I cut with Steve Earle.
I love that song.
I'm going to do that. I'm just going to...
You drop down to D.
It's going to do that thing. I know Steve often gets the capo and puts it on the second fret.
Yep, I do that a lot too. Drop E, I call it. It's not what it is, but
that's right.
Yeah, I love it.
So this is a song I wrote with my friend Alan Caswell. Kaz is Australia's most recorded songwriter.
Is he really?
He's
Yeah.
had over 1,000 cuts. I think he
Wow.
might even be coming up to 1,100 cuts.
Woo.
We've been friends for a very long time.
Wow.
I still write with Kaz, over email. I'll often send him an idea, send him a kind of musical idea, and we'll do the kind of Elton John, Bernie Taupin kind of thing, which is
Love
great
it.
because
Yeah.
I often do the opposite. I'm working with a guy right now who I love and has become a good friend, a guy called Bernie Cheverelli, who's Michael McDonald's guitarist and longtime collaborator. And,
Wow.
and with Bernie, I tend to, sometimes I'll bring in a complete lyric and I'll have the tune in my head and he'll write the music and I'll just kind of sing it until it kind of falls into place. And so I enjoy working with him that way. And I also enjoy working with Kaz, where I'll give him a hook and I'll have this melody. I'll sit down at the piano because I write on piano so much. I get so much more inspired to write on piano, even though I'm not a particularly great piano player or guitar's my first instrument. The piano just puts me in a zone, and so I'll sit down and I'll record something and send it to Kaz, and then I'll wake up the next day and he'll have a lyric in my inbox that I can work with. And so I really enjoy doing this. We wrote this song in person, and I brought the hook, and I had this kind of outlaw country thing happening. Thing because I'd been friends with Steve Earle for quite a while, and I really, he'd put out an album called So You Want to Be an Outlaw, and I love the sounds on that album, and I've gotten to sit in the past with Steve when he's been cutting an album, when he cut the Guy Clark tribute album, and
Great album.
It was great to see that he still cuts everything not to a click, no click.
No.
His band all in the studio at the same time, and really very few kind of punch-ins, and definitely no studio trickery going on. It's all
real
real
deal.
and raw, and there's not a lot of people that cut like that anymore.
No.
Because it is harder, and it is a bit more of it requires a bit more discipline.
It sure does.
But so. I heard that kind of album that he was doing at the time, and I thought, wouldn't it be great to write this kind of master versus apprentice type, outlaw country song? So we wrote this thing called The New Old Me.
Love this song.
Which is a title I had. There's some things I wouldn't do just for the sake of change. Anger once used whiskey as a shortcut to my brain. Well, I'm the last man standing from a happy bunch of fools who thought that they were big enough to kick against the rules. Well, I had a flair for screwing up, as most of you'd agree. Welcome to the new old me. That was Steve's verse. He couldn't be here today, unfortunately, Dave. They used to put their crap on me like I was just a kid. You told me to toughen up, buddy, that's just what I did. I built myself a stronger heart so it don't break no more. And I grew myself a second skin that was thicker than before. When you're looking in the mirror now, I am all you see. Welcome to the new old me. So we're ripping off the rich so we can give it to the poor. And guys like us can see the world from both sides of the law. It's nice you give me credit, 'cause I know there's credit due. And I just taught you bits and tricks, the rest was up to you. Well, I got my future covered, because I learned from your mistakes. And I can run big rings around the phonies and the fakes. And if you die, well, it's not my responsibility. Welcome to the new old me. Yeah, well, I can do just what I want while I'm stupid, young and free. Welcome to the new old me.
Kind of fits in what we were talking about, you know, the frauds and the fakes, and fantastic. Boy, you make that guitar sound so good.
I love playing it.
Man, I love that guitar.
Cool.
I'm going to play it at the Bluebird tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to it. You've played all the great venues here. You've been at the Bluebird, you've been at the Ryman, you played the Ryman stage. You stepped into the Circle of the Grand Ole Opry at a very young age. So yeah, you know, Nashville becomes you, huh?
That's right. Yeah, I think I was 21 when I got to play the Grand Ole Opry, which makes me the youngest Australian male artist. There was an artist called Catherine Britt. I think she was the youngest Aussie to play on the Opry. I think, don't quote me. Yeah, she's a great talent, and my friends, the French Family Band. Also,
they're amazing.
Played on the Opry several times, and I know Sonny, the guitar player, singer in French Family Band. He was probably quite young when the French Family Band did their Opry debut. But it's so great, you know, they've been over here I think now 5 or 6 years, and it's great seeing them. You know, do some wonderful things.
They're absolutely amazing. If you get a chance to ever see them, you want to see the show for sure.
Fantastic.
Now, the music you grew up on, and you started at a young age.
Actually, I should say, going back to people that I love, the French Family Band.
French Family Band,
that is, you know...
Was American country music big in Australia?
Yeah. And, you know, I've known the Frenches for 15 plus years, and... you know, Camille and Stewie,
I love it.
were touring as Camille and Stewie for a really long time, and Stewie's produced a lot of great records and played on so many great records for a very long time. And Camille singing on, you know, she was the go-to BV singer for, you know, like Stewie was the go-to guitar player for such a long time, you know, through a period of such great Australian country music. And but I'm such a big fan of those guys. Like, they have a thing each month at the Station Inn, and talk about authenticity, that's as real as you're going to get.
Yeah, right there. Yep.
And so I should say that, in answer to your question before, the French Family Band. Because it's just, you know, the musicianship is phenomenal. Right. And it's real. There's no other way to describe it. And they're such great humans. I love catching up with them, and I'm thrilled to have a cut on their new album.
Great,
it's coming out next month, early next month. So Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's my answer.
Yeah. When did it all start for you? When did you realize music was the thing? And I read a story that at age 16 you were writing songs.
Oh, it was a lot earlier
than
than that. Yeah, it was about. I started playing when I was about 6 or 7. I was singing around the house from an early age, and my closest musical connection was my great-great-grandpa, who lived to 103. He played the mandolin.
Wow.
Poppy Roy.
Mandy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He died actually just shy of his 103rd birthday, but he was my closest musical connection. But I would sing around the house from an early age, and my dad had an old guitar of his that he played for 5 seconds that was shoved in my closet. And
did you claim it?
And I kind of, I got curious. What's that in my cupboard? And so I would get it out every once in a while and tinker with it. And my parents, tried to get me into sport from a young age. I was dragged along against my will to karate and taekwondo and soccer. And, I used to run in the opposite direction of the soccer ball. And, I think I was only doing soccer just so I could have the halftime oranges that they'd bring out in the halftime,
Soccer or football there?
Soccer.
Soccer?
Soccer, yeah.
Okay, all right.
That's what... There's soccer and football and AFL and, I don't really speak sport, but it's
you speak music.
I speak music. I'm totally not a sports person. I am not a sports fan. I find sport quite boring because I'm a terrible player of it, so I don't understand it.
Your gifts lie in other places.
Yeah, they do.
So when did it really just start to gel for you? When did it start happening?
Well, what happened? My parents dragged me along to a shared guitar lesson because a friend of mine was taking guitar lessons, and the guy ran the local music shop, and I was like, oh wow, this is actually something that I'm kind of good at, and I really enjoy. It's fun, and all of a sudden, not long after that, my old man was talking to this retired professional country singer by the name of William Lane, who lived around the road from us, and he offered to come over every Sunday and teach me for free for a couple of hours, and he was the one that got me into country music because he was a retired country singer, and so he taught me how to play guitar and sing at the same time. He was the one that really put the two together for me. And in hindsight, I look back and go, well, I was always a songwriter, but I wasn't always a songwriter, but the songwriter in me really appreciated the songs that he'd written to the point that I didn't want to learn any other songs except the songs that he'd written. And then after he'd exhausted those, he started teaching me other people's songs. But I was so fascinated by the fact that I was so fascinated by the fact that he'd had success with songs that he'd written that I wanted to learn those before I learned any other people's songs. And so I started writing my own songs and playing I put a school band together called Angus Gill and the Wild Turkeys in primary school, and we didn't know we were promoting bourbon in school assembly. But there was a guy in the school that played drums, and they had this other guy who was a bit of a tearaway, was always getting on detentions and things, and so they gave him what they call a lagerphone, which is a broomstick with beer tops hammered into it. It's just this jingle stick, and so it was the three of us. We were a 3-piece band, and we'd play at the school assembly each week. We'd do the school song, and we'd sometimes sing "Butcher" the national anthem, and we'd play music when people were coming into the assembly hall. And then when they would be leaving, so we would do that. So that was probably from about grade 4 to grade 6, and at that same time, I was Bill would enter me into local country music talent quests and competitions. And I remember one particular time I did this duo act with a lady called Connie Hollis, who was about 60 years older than me, and we did this song called the Farmyard Yodel, and I decided, and I was really into set design at that point, and I got with Connie to the grand final of this talent competition at the Warhope RSL Club. Oh, wow. And we smuggled my pet chook, Aggie, into the club in a cat cage with a picnic blanket over the top of it.
Your pet what?
Chook. Chicken.
Chicken.
A live chicken.
A live chicken.
We smuggled a live... It sounds like a Ray Stevens story.
It really does.
We smuggled a live chicken into a return serviceman's club.
Okay.
And snuck it past the bistro, and I was on really late at night, and Aggie was in the dressing room to the side of the stage, and I could see her eyes rolling back in her head, when chooks go to sleep, you can... And I was like, wake up, Aggie, we're on, And so I got her out of the cage and put her kind of on a bale of hay, and Connie and I got up and sung our farmyard yodel song. Mm-hmm. And Aggie sat there patiently for the whole entire song. But the moment we strummed our last chord, she let out this big bukkak and jumped off the stage and made a beeline for the poker machines.
Oh, my God.
And I had to run after her because they were about to send the chefs out from the bistro to catch tomorrow's $5 lunch. So, so I finally grabbed Aggie, and the moment I went and grabbed her, she decided that it was time for potty.
Well, of course.
But, the RSL carpet, it all blends in because it looks like they've dragged a wild beast through an abattoir, when you go into those places. So,
hilarious, man.
So that was my first, the formative years.
The formative years.
And then kind of fast forward to that, when I was 11... I got to sing with, someone I really looked up to and is a good friend now, a well-known Aussie country artist called Adam Harvey. My grandma used to work at the local community radio station, and Adam was being interviewed there, and so I got half an hour off school to come down and meet him, and then he invited me to sing with him that night at his concert, and I just remember getting up there on stage and looking out to the crowd and looking over to Adam and just knowing that this was something I was going to be doing for the rest of my life. There was no other option. That was the moment. That was the turnkey moment.
Wow. That's awesome.
And I went on to have my own radio show on that same station from when I was 14 to 18. 14? Yeah, that was when I got my show. I was about 11 when I did that thing with Adam, and Adam and I have been friends ever since. I've had songs on his projects. I've had him sing on different production projects and things over the years, and we've been friends ever since. So I owe a lot to him for giving me that little start, and because that's what kicked things off for me and set me on the path that I'm on. And William Lane, who taught me the guitar, like he was a very instrumental part of why I'm sitting here right now.
Awesome.
Too.
We've got a lot more to talk about. I've got a lot of questions. Angus Gill is our guest. Amazing guest here on Songwriter Connection. Don't go away. Be right back.
You're listening to the Songwriter Connection with Dave Linehan. Find us on Facebook and YouTube at the Songwriter Connection Podcast. And find Dave at thedaveconnection.com. Now back to the show with your host, Dave Linehan.
Published every Wednesday morning, so you can have a cup of coffee and make a new connection with a songwriter artist here. And not just Nashville, we get all over, We had Australia today, and it's Angus Gill, now in Nashville, but came to us from Australia. We have a friend in common, and I wanted to mention up front, because the first time I met you was in the round with Cindy Alter. I think it was at the Commodore.
Yes.
And you just killed me that night because we plugged the Songwriter Connection, which we do from time to time on these rounds. And I said something to the effect that everybody's got a podcast these days, and I always thank you for finding mine, Songwriter Connection. And you just started laughing, and you go, "Well, I wrote a song about that." You want to hear it? Here it goes. And it's such a good song.
Yes, it did. It always gets the audience, going when I do that one. Yeah, it's called "Everyone's Got a Podcast" because everyone's full of shit.
You got to do it for us, can you?
All right,
come on, man. I love this song. This killed me, man. Friends for life after this. Oh, you drop that D. Undrop that D.
Yeah, undrop that D. Okay, here it is. Everyone's using TikTok. I even saw one of me grand But she's gone too far, I've seen too much. Now she's got an OnlyFans. Everyone's wearing activewear. Don't matter if you're fat or fit. Everyone's got a podcast, because everyone's full of shit.
That's right.
Everyone's a foodie, because they've seen a bit of MasterChef. Everyone's drinking craft beer, but I like mine brown and wet. Everyone's getting Botox, but no one will admit. Everyone's got a podcast, and everyone's got fake tits. Everyone's got a labradoodle, a groodle or cavoodle. I was being mindful in my green space and thought, why, you never see an actual poodle. Everyone's a renovator, dodgy tradies without a course. But I only go to Bunnings, which is an Aussie place like Lowe's.
Oh, is it?
For a sausage sandwich and sauce. Everyone's wearing AirPods, but can you keep your voice down a bit? They've probably got a podcast, because everyone's full of shit. Yeah, everyone's got a podcast, because everyone, like you, Dave, is full of shit.
Of course. I am what I am. Great song, man. That is hilarious. It's so true. Lots of truth in there.
I think I did actually write a version that's more for American consumption there, but I've forgotten how that goes. So you got the Aussie version there.
That's fine with me. Yeah, Cindy Alter, and I saw you play. You opened for her at the Faker Theater, right? I actually saw you play piano, so I know you're a lot better than you give yourself credit.
I'm okay. I still don't claim to be a brilliant piano player, but the truth is, I started writing on piano. Like I've known how to play piano for quite a while, since I was a kid and dabbling around on old Casio keyboards. But I produce a lot of records, and every now and again I'll play a Hammond organ part or a Wurlitzer part or something on a track. But when I moved to town a couple of years ago, there was a piano in my writing room, and I didn't really have a piano in my house when I was back home. I kind of had a keyboard that I'd play every now and again, but it was just great to have this piano in my writing room all the time, and so I started really getting on that a lot of times, and I just and my good friend Paul Hollowell is Dolly Parton's piano player, and I'd often, whenever we'd catch up, I'd pick his brains and get him to show me a thing or two, and the same with some other folks, Phil Vassar and right with Victoria Shaw and people like that
Big
are all
names.
piano players, and so Tom Douglas and Jeffrey Steele's also a great piano player too, yes. I love hanging out with people that play piano and will write on piano. And
do you prefer writing on piano?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And why is that, you think?
Well, I just think my music theory brain is activated on piano because, and I also I've learned a lot more. I know a lot of chords on piano now, and I also know how to get to the chords that I want theory wise too. Mm-hmm. Even if I don't know the shapes, I can kind of I know what makes certain chords up, so I can figure out how to get there.
Cindy's favorite chord, the D diminuted.
Yes,
yes. I want to talk about Cindy. Cindy and I were talking about you. Cindy Alter, by the way, has been on the show a couple of times. She led the band Clout out of South Africa. Big hits, and was a rock star at the age of 21.
Yeah.
Great story. And I know you guys are good friends. And she says, she's from South Africa.
Yes.
You're from Australia. She goes, Australia and South Africans, we get along very well. Our accents are very similar. She said, here's the difference. And I found this fascinating because I love accents. She said that in South Africa, we round off the vowels.
Yes.
In Australia, they flatten them.
Yeah.
True?
Yes, that's very true. Yeah, it's quite a staccato accent, the South African accent. Like it's quite. Cindy called me and said, darling, Angus, darling, you're such a sweetheart.
That's her, man.
It's like park the car in the car park.
Yeah, there you go.
Take your pants off. Or, I'm not really a dessert type of person,
I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I was born in Buffalo. And we have this we play cards and we park cards. They're really hard iron. So
it's kind of Irish.
It's a little Irish. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm a little Irish. so it works.
Are you?
Yeah. So, yeah, Linehan,
Yes, of
absolutely,
course. Yes.
So, Cindy and I were talking about you today, and she said, make sure he sings the song Breakfast at
Wendell's. Oh, okay. Well, that might
Does that catch you off
It might be hard to do because I played on piano, and I actually haven't learned it on guitar. And there's some other chords on there which I know the shapes on piano. I
I'm going to blame
what
Cindy
they are.
on
So
that.
I'll have to hold you to that one and do it another time.
And bring a piano.
When I got a piano there. But it was interesting because I wrote that song with my friend Bernie Cheverelli, and I recently cut it with an absolute icon as a duet. I'm not going to say who it is because it's not out yet,
but you're going to release it.
But it'll be out. It'll be out soonish, I hope.
With an icon that we will all know.
Absolute blue-eyed soul icon, yacht rock icon. And,
wow.
And I remember seeing this guy play out in Australia when I was about 10.
Yeah.
And I had just been such a big fan of this one particular song of his. But his whole catalogue I'm totally across, and I'm a huge fan. And I found an email address for him, and I reached out to him on a whim, not thinking that I'd hear back from him, telling him about the song and this collaboration, this record I'm doing with Bernie. And he had worked with Bernie a few times before, but not much. And I said, I got this song that I wrote called Breakfast. Bernie and I had written called Breakfast at Wendell's, and it's a 6/8 blues thing. It kind of feels a little Steely Dan-ish. And I said, I'd love to send it to you and see if you'd consider singing the duet part with me. And I sent it to him, not thinking that I'd hear back. And then he emailed me back the next day going, yeah, I'd love to hear the song. And I thought, this guy has also not sung on anyone else's records to my knowledge. He's had people sing duets on his records.
Yeah.
But... and then the day I sent the song, and then the day after that, he said, I love your voice, I love the song, I'll sing it next Monday. And he did. And he sent the file to me. And I just remember going, holy mackerel. When I went up to my studio and I heard his rough mix singing that vocal, I am like, oh my gosh, he's taken such good care of his voice. And I feel... I'm sorry I can't disclose who it is yet, but I'm trying to contain my excitement.
You'll have to come back when it releases.
I will.
Okay.
But it's just amazing that my father taught me years ago. He's a self-made man and he's done pretty well for himself. And he always said, you have to ask the question. And it takes a lot. Answer
is always no until you ask. Right?
And it takes a lot of courage to just go, I'm just going to reach out, and I'm producing this various artist project right now for someone who's really like family to me, and has made such a incredible mark on music as we know it, and on guitar playing as we know it, and I'm having a bunch of artists sing a line each on this song, and
nice.
And it's really coming together great, and I can't wait for him to be able to hear it when it's all done, and
you'll have to come back and share it with us. In
support of his foundation, but to be able to do that and to be able to work with some of these artists that I've admired, and I'm doing it because I really want to honour him. And at first, when you're reaching out to all these people that have had some influence on you, it can be a bit nerve wracking, but
intimidating.
But as soon as you break the seal on it, it's fine, and it's it's such an honour to have them on this project, and I think you just got to ask the question, and at the end of the day, I'm doing this because I really want to be able to honour him in song, he means so much to me personally. He's like a grandparent to me, and
but you can't share it.
But it's like no. But it's that's another
folks.
one
I tried, you know.
Can't
he gave us some hints though. Blue-eyed soul, trop rock. You know,
but well, I was kind of talking about two different projects there, but
okay.
Two different people. But anyway, the long and short of it, without me waffling on for forever and a day, is that you've just got to ask the question sometimes, and, and that can be a lot harder. It's easier said than done sometimes too.
It is. It takes a gumption. It does.
But sometimes you can be surprised when you ask the question.
How about this duet you did last year in 2025 with Eric?
Oh, Eric McCusker.
And Gill. You did a little duet project, didn't you?
We did a project together. Eric is an Australian rock legend and great guitarist and songwriter for a band called Mondo Rock. That was it. He's done a lot more outside of Mondo Rock, but they're a very big band, and he was the primary songwriter of that band, and we got together. We were connected by my publisher Philip Mortlock back in 2021, and we got together in the flesh when there was a bit of a COVID spell, when we were out of isolation for a little while, and really hit it off. We'd talk about songwriting and the craft of songwriting and our influences and our literary influences for hours. Before we do any kind of songwriting, and we started working on. We wrote a song called "Can You Imagine," which is one of the songs that was on that project, the Angus Gill project that we did, and then we started working on another song called "Canned Laughter," which is also on that project, and we kind of were like, so what's the purpose of this? Is this something for you, or is this something for me? And so how about we just do a joint project? And we did, and it took us a really long time to get that project finished, and because Eric and I are both very meticulous people as songwriters and producers, very meticulous. But I think, and sometimes it's almost like we were going too far down the rabbit hole, and it's like we need to bring it back to what our original intention was.
Gotcha.
And that process was a series of very small decisions. And Eric used to quote Steve Martin a lot and go, "Precision is movement." And sometimes it takes a lot of effort to make something sound effortless.
Yeah. I hear you.
And
I can understand that.
I just love the process. I'm very grateful, that I had the opportunity to work with Eric on that project, and I still keep in touch with him, and we just have fascinating conversations about songs and songwriting and anything to do with creativity and. I'm grateful for that because it taught me a lot of things. I think we were able to learn things off each other. And the dedication to the craft is not something that I see as much on a day-to-day basis being here in town. I think because of today's world is so focused on, just film anything. Just film it. Film it, put it out. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's good or just put it out. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think... the quality of our content, of our music, of our everything is a lot lower than it was because you just put it out. It doesn't matter. It's good. That'll do. Near enough's close enough. And it was really refreshing to work with someone like Eric. And I've done my apprenticeship writing with a lot of veteran songwriters.
Yes, you have.
It's been one of the best kind of musical upbringings that I've.
And each time you're in a room with one of these legends, you're learning, right? You're learning the craft. Learning
always.
something about the craft.
You always learn something new. But I'm so grateful to have that because you see the dedication they have to the craft, and when you've worked with as many of those older legendary songwriters as I have, you realise that they've all got that one thing in common: their dedication. They're not just going to and to a point that sometimes it can be a little tough to write with them because it'll be a bit slow moving. Yeah, but you go.
Are you more of a slow moving writer, or you get it done?
It depends on how the idea hits me. I prefer to kind of move at a at a little bit of a slower pace, just to make sure that we've explored where we've got the right angle on the idea. I also don't want to hold someone up if someone's really firing off in the room, or if I'm firing off, or whatever's going on. I also don't want to hold the room back, but at the same time, it's like I always trust my gut on if I feel like we've not gone down the right path, because I always say the song's only as good as the idea. But sometimes you don't always. A great idea doesn't always equate to a great song, but there's often times where I'm putting a record together and I'm judging the songs that I choose on the record on the strength of their idea first and foremost. And then sometimes you'll come across a song where you go, it's a really great idea, but we just quite didn't convert that into a great song. And it's worth revisiting that and seeing if you can make that possible.
Rewrite.
And I've had success with several songs that have been like that. They've been pretty good songs, but I think we tipped them over the line into being something more special, just by doing, like, people. There's some people in this town that are averse to doing a rewrite on something, and I just do not share. I do not share that view, because I think there's always something that you can improve. You can always improve a line or a melody or a chord.
Oh, absolutely. And as you play, I think songs evolve in different things pop out. When I was in the writing room, why didn't I? That's the perfect line right there. And I think songs have a life of their own. Right. We are running short on time. I need to hear one more song from you, my friend. You're so easy to talk to, and I'm just fascinated by everything that you do. And I'm curious you've got the big project coming out soon, and you'll come back for breakfast.
Absolutely.
At Wendell's.
Breakfast at Wendell's.
I need to know what that's all about, man. Absolutely. But that's not this song.
No. This one I'm going to play. It's one of my favourite songs. I just played it at Bluebird recently, a week or two ago, and
you were with Christy Manor, was it?
Kirsty Manor and Bill D and Bill Luigi and Bill Warner on guitar. And
some of my favorite people.
Yeah, me too. And we played this song that called "In the Cards," which was inspired by my grandma's Alzheimer's journey. And
we didn't get to talk about the novella. Which was all about that, huh? Yeah. And and I wanted to mention that because my mom had it too. Oh, lost her about 15 months ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's a cruel disease.
It's a horrible disease.
So I'm glad you chose to end our show with this.
I did. I wrote a novella called Departure and Arrival, and it was, loosely based on my grandma's Alzheimer's journey. It's a piece of fiction, but it's rooted in a lot of things that I saw, and in my grandma's character. Like there's a lot of character quirks that the protagonist in this book, Yvette, shares with my grandma, because I wanted to kind of write it from a place of authenticity, but then let the characters actually grow into their own as well. Gotcha. Because I wanted it to be believable, and it's but I didn't want it to be autobiographical either. I was trying to write it from a place that was real and that was true, and then let the fantasy kind of kick in as we went along.
Gotcha. Did this song grow out of that novella?
No. It's kind of, but they're kind of like companion pieces. And
gotcha.
I always used to love playing. Just the short version of it is I always used to love playing cards with my grandma, and I remember. That was my favourite thing to do with her, and I remember shortly after she got the Sundowner's Alzheimer's diagnosis, I sat down and I got the cards out, and we tried to have a game of cards, and she couldn't remember how to play, and it broke my heart. And so I wrote this thing called "In the Cards." With a friend of mine, Jerry Sally, and we started it together, and then we didn't have enough time to finish it, and I finished off the rest when I was over in Australia, and I sent it back to Jerry. This was, I think, around the time shortly after Grandma, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and so I'm really proud of this song, and I love working with Jerry, and so. Yeah, this is "In the Cards." There's a dog-eared deck of cards there on the table, and she hasn't picked them up in quite a while. We used to sit and play gin rummy here for hours, and I never will forget the way she smiled. She taught me how to deal and how to shuffle. In the back page of a diary I'd keep score. But those yesterdays are like a distant memory, 'cause sometimes she thinks all the threes are fours, and she don't even know the hand she's holding is the only one she's ever held on to. She tells him that he really looks familiar, exactly like some guy that she once knew. And he always thought she was a shining diamond, and there's no doubt he was her ace of hearts. And here they are. He never dreamed that this was in the cards. The truth is we can't predict what life will give us. There's a chance that we might all end up this way. So I guess those who are blessed to live a long life know that good and bad are both dealt out in spades. And she don't even know the hand she's holding is the only one she's ever held on to. She tells him that he really looks familiar, ooh, exactly like some guy that she once knew. And he always thought she was a shining diamond, but nothing breaks a heart like loving someone who doesn't know just who you are. He never dreamed that this was in the cards. There's a dog-eared deck of cards there on the table, and she hasn't picked them up in quite a while. We used to sit and play gin rummy here for hours, and I never will forget the way she smiled.
I bet you that went over really big at the Bluebird. What a great song.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
See the cards.
It always sends off the waterworks because it's very true. It's every word of that song I've seen before my eyes.
You got me, bro. I mean, I was thinking about times with my mother.
Yeah.
The last Christmas that we spent together, and I kissed her on the forehead, and she looked at me and she said, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
So I just felt like kissing my mom, and then it kind of came to her that that's who I am.
Yeah.
So, and a little more than a month later, she was gone. So, that's hard. That's really hard.
It's still very hard to sing that. You know, every time I do it, it's always kind of it brings back some kind of memory of my because my grandma and my nan on either side of the family had Alzheimer's. So it was very sad to watch one decline and then another decline almost a year or two after the other. So I've seen it twice, and that's why I got inspired to write my novella Departure and Arrival, because it was it's a cause that is really close to my heart, and I just felt like I had something to say in terms of that, and I also wanted to have to try and find humorous ways of looking at it as well as the heart.
If you don't, you go crazy.
Exactly, because you need to, and there's a lot of humorous things that my mum used to say to me about my grandma and things like that, or things that I would hear her say too, and so I think it's you have to. You got to try and see the funny in things in life in general.
I agree. Yeah, so. And that's the comic in you coming out too.
That's right.
You do comedy shows, and I respect people that can get on the stage, because here we are, songwriters. We can sit behind a guitar or piano and sing and play. But when you're on that stage doing comedy, it's you and a mic, right? Yeah. There's nothing to hide behind. Right. Yeah. Right. Was that intimidating the first time you did that?
Oh yeah, and it's but I wouldn't get up on stage, I think. If I, it wouldn't be the same for me if I didn't get up on stage and make people laugh, regardless of whether I have a guitar in my hand or not. I just love doing it. It's so much fun, and I suppose it's my old man coming out of me. I do get my sense of humour from him. So he's a very, very funny person, very politically incorrect, very funny. And cool. And I love writing comedy songs. I'm getting ready to do a stand-up show at Zany's.
Oh, cool!
In a couple of months.
Big comedy club here in Nashville.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to doing it, really, because it's kind of an itch I want to scratch. Like I've done. I would kind of identify as a comedian. I've written a lot of musical comedy songs, and in my series show I have bits that I do to kind of segue in between the songs. But I've also hosted and done some pure stand-up spots too, and that's always fun, and it throws you in the deep end a little bit, and so I'm working this show up currently, which is a blend of stand-up and musical comedy songs I've written. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm looking forward to kind of scratching that itch.
You get so many cool things going on. How do people keep up with you? What's your website?
I like to say I'm omnipotent. You can find me almost anywhere these days, can't you?
Right. But you have a webpage. It's a good
angusgill.com.au, and you can connect with me on Facebook. I love my Facebook. I love my Facebook audience. It's my favourite platform, and and then there's all of the rest of them as well, which are not Instagram, my favourite platforms.
Yeah, gotcha. But it's been a pleasure having you on the show and getting to know you a little bit better. What a talent, my friend!
Thank you.
Knowing that we're neighbours, we'll have to get together and try to write something one of these days.
Yes, we shall.
For sure,
that will be great.
Would love that. Hey, Cindy and I, we wrote she says we wrote a proper song. Is what she told me.
A proper song.
It's a proper song, right? I was just so thrilled. So, thank you so much. I really appreciate you, and promise me you'll come back. Okay?
Absolutely, Dave. Let's do it.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Right on, folks. Thanks, Angus Gill.
That's a wrap from the dining room table. Thanks for joining the conversation and chasing the music with us. From Nashville, Tennessee, this is the Songwriter Connection, the award-winning elite music podcast of the year, connecting the songs and the people who write them.